Imagine standing alone at the edge of a great wilderness, with no map, no guide, and only the whisper of the wind. That whisper is the voice of God calling you to rise, not to follow the crowd, not to seek comfort, but to become the man you were divinely designed to be. Man was not placed upon this earth by accident, nor was he meant to drift aimlessly through life like a ship without a compass. Deep within every man lies a specific calling, a purpose so grand, so intricately woven into the fabric of his being, that to ignore it is to betray the very reason for his existence. Each individual, regardless of station, birth, or circumstance, is born with seeds of greatness planted within him by a divine intelligence. Those seeds are not meant to remain dormant. They are designed to grow, to bear fruit, to bless not only the man himself, but all those whose lives he touches. Purpose is not a vague wish or fleeting ambition, it is a definite and consuming obsession. A man without a clear and burning purpose becomes like dry leaves scattered by the autumn winds, directionless, useless, and forgotten. It is the man who dares to search within himself, who listens to the subtle voice of intuition and conscience, who finds that singular mission written on his heart. He no longer gropes in darkness, he walks in light. He moves with an authority born not of arrogance but of divine alignment. The discovery of purpose demands honesty. It demands a stripping away of societal expectations, the clamor of noisy critics, the endless seductions of superficial success. Purpose does not shout, it whispers. It is found in the quiet realization of one's deepest passions, combined with an unwavering decision to serve something greater than self. When a man anchors himself to a definite chief aim, life itself seems to conspire to assist him. Opportunities arise, obstacles shrink, energies once scattered become concentrated and potent. Yet knowing one's purpose is only the beginning. It must be coupled with the will to act, to move steadily toward the vision even when the path is strewn with thorns. Purpose must become the center of a man's thoughts, the driving force behind his daily actions, the standard by which he measures every decision. The man who possesses such definiteness of purpose does not succumb to the petty distractions that ensnare lesser minds. He is busy forging destiny. He is too occupied with building a life of meaning to waste time in meaningless pursuits. But there is a secret that few dare to learn, a hidden truth that separates the truly great from the merely ambitious. This secret is solitude. In solitude, a man strips away the masks he wears for the world. He confronts his fears, his failures, his unfinished dreams. Alone he listens, truly listens, to the whisper of divine inspiration that speaks not through noise but through silence. Solitude is not isolation from life. It is immersion into a deeper layer of life. It is not withdrawal from duty, but a preparation for greater duty. The man who fears being alone with his thoughts will never come to know himself, and without self-knowledge he is a puppet pulled by the strings of external forces. Solitude demands courage, for in solitude a man must wrestle with uncomfortable truths. He must face his weaknesses without excuse, his regrets without justification, and his longings without compromise. True growth is not birthed in the approval of the masses, but in the quiet chambers of solitary reflection. There a man gathers strength invisible to the outside world. There he lays the plans for his future conquests. There he owns the vision so that, once he steps back into the world, he moves with certainty, with quiet confidence, with a force that others can feel but cannot explain. The power acquired in solitude is real power. It is self-generated. It does not depend on applause, recognition, or rewards. It is the kind of power that builds empires of the mind, that tames passions, that directs emotions into channels of creation rather than destruction. The man who has made friends with solitude has tapped into the inexhaustible source of inner strength. He has become the master of himself, and in mastering himself, he positions himself to master the circumstances of his life. The common man seeks constant company to distract him from his own emptiness. The uncommon man seeks moments of solitude to fill himself with wisdom, with vision, with faith. In every season of life, from youth to age, there must be time set apart, sacred and uninterrupted, where a man turns inward to renew his mind, to refresh his spirit, to realign with his highest mission. To build the life he was meant to live, a man must first build himself. To build himself, he must dare to walk the silent path, to look inward where the real battles are fought and won. In solitude, he finds not loneliness but partnership with the divine. In solitude, he moves closer to the man he was always destined to become. The world does not reward noise, it rewards results. Results are born from thought, from vision, from a man's secret communion with the source of all creation. Solitude sharpens the mind, strengthens the will, steels the character. Without it, no great work can be conceived, no lasting legacy left behind. There is a man you are meant to become. He is waiting for you beyond the distractions, beyond the noise, beyond the crowd. Find him, build him, become him. Without a clear and burning purpose, life drifts into a meaningless series of random events. A man without a definite aim becomes the pawn of circumstances, a servant to the whims of stronger, more decisive individuals. It is not enough to wish vaguely for success, happiness, or influence. The mind must be given a clear instruction, a focused mission so intense that every thought, every emotion, every action is drawn irresistibly toward its realization. Purpose transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It gives the struggling student the determination to master his craft, the obscure laborer the power to rise to heights of achievement, the timid soul the courage to confront giants. The man who knows exactly what he wants and is determined to achieve it sets into motion forces unseen by the eyes of the indifferent. Life bends to the will of the man who has made a definite decision and refuses to back down from it. A great aim must not only be definite but must be obsessed over. It must consume the mind day and night. Idle wishes are like mist, they vanish at the first sign of resistance. True definiteness of purpose ignites a fire so strong that obstacles are seen not as deterrents but as stepping stones. It compels the man to press forward when others retreat, to persevere when easier paths invite him to quit. It directs his energies, orders his priorities, and sharpens his mind to a single unbreakable focus. Every man who ever rose above mediocrity began by making a simple but profound decision to fix his mind upon a singular goal and refuse to permit any other thought to exist in conflict with it. Such a man may stumble, he may face temporary defeat, but he will never be defeated in spirit, for his mind remains fixed upon the star that guides his every move. Yet purpose without discipline is like a powerful engine without a driver. It moves nowhere. The man who dares to fix a definite purpose must also be willing to pay the price, and the price is self-mastery. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It is the art of commanding oneself to act, not according to fleeting moods or passing desires, but according to the greater vision set before the mind. No man can call himself free who is a slave to his appetites, his distractions, or his fears. True freedom comes only when one has gained mastery over the self. It is not enough to wish to succeed. One must train the mind to obey the will. One must train the body to serve the mind. One must sacrifice the lesser pleasures of the moment for the greater joys of fulfillment and achievement. Discipline demands that a man rise when it would be easier to sleep. It demands that he work when others play, that he study when others waste time, that he prepare while others procrastinate. Discipline is the silent, invisible work that builds a man's character in the dark long before the light of success shines upon him. The man of discipline does not seek motivation from outside himself. He has built within his mind a fire that burns regardless of external encouragement. Whether praised or criticized, whether supported or opposed, he continues in his labor. He understands that emotions are fleeting and unreliable guides. Therefore, he chooses action over feeling, commitment over comfort, perseverance over pleasure. Every man must decide, will he rule his mind or will he be ruled by it? Will he command his destiny or will he surrender it to laziness, fear, and distraction? Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of love, a love so strong that it refuses to let the man fall short of his highest potential. The world applauds the victories seen on stages and battlefields, but the real victories are won in private moments of decision. When a man says no to temptation, when he chooses hard work over ease, when he practices patience in the face of frustration, he is laying the bricks of an indestructible life. These small unseen victories accumulate, they become habits, and habits become destiny. Purpose gives a man direction. Discipline keeps him on the path when storms rage and shadows fall. Without one, he is lost. Without the other, he is weak. Together, they forge a life of unstoppable momentum. Every man is given the gift of free will. What he does with it determines everything. A vague wish will not alter the course of a river, nor will it bend the winds. But a definite purpose, driven by relentless discipline, will carve mountains, redirect rivers, and change the very fabric of reality. The question is not whether life will test the man. It certainly will. The question is whether he has forged within himself the strength to remain true when tested. Purpose will light the path. Discipline will keep the feet moving forward. And in the union of these two, a man rises to meet the destiny he was created to fulfill. Faith is the unseen force that shapes destinies. Without faith, a man's efforts become hollow and mechanical, like a ship adrift without wind or compass. He may labor, but without faith, his labor is empty of spirit and void of endurance. Faith is the power that animates action, the silent partner in every great achievement. It is the knowledge, deep and unshakable, that there is a guiding hand, a higher intelligence that responds to the deepest desires of the heart when those desires are married to action. Faith begins where logic ends. It picks up the work where human reason falters. There are moments in every man's journey where the visible evidence will suggest defeat, where all logical indicators point to failure. It is precisely in these moments that faith must be summoned like a torch to light the darkness. A man must believe in the unseen, trust in the process, and lean upon the power that called him into existence with a purpose that is far greater than his present circumstance. No man has ever achieved lasting success without faith, for no man can rise above the level of his own belief. Faith in oneself is essential, but it is only half the battle. The deeper, unshakable faith must be rooted in the understanding that the Creator of all things has also created within him the capacity to overcome, to build, to endure, and to triumph. When a man moves with faith in that higher power, he moves with an authority that mere human confidence cannot duplicate. His steps become firm. His voice carries conviction. His actions attract allies in circumstances that seem almost miraculous in their timing and precision. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is not idle hoping. It is a deliberate choice to believe in the unseen realities that govern life. It is a decision to see abundance when the world screams scarcity, to claim victory when the world pronounces defeat, to walk boldly when the world expects retreat. Faith transforms the invisible into the visible, the imagined into the tangible. It breathes life into dreams and raises men from obscurity to greatness. But no discussion of faith is complete without understanding its most critical testing ground, adversity. Every man who dares to dream must also dare to endure. Adversity is not the enemy, it is the proving ground. It is the fire that tempers the blade, the wind that strengthens the oak. Without adversity, character remains weak, ambition remains unsharpened, and faith remains untested. Adversity is the examination every man must pass if he is to claim mastery over himself and his fate. The trials of life are not punishments but invitations, opportunities to dig deeper, to reach higher, to discover reserves of strength and wisdom that comfort would leave forever dormant. In every difficulty lies the seed of equal or greater benefit, but only if the man possesses the eyes to see it and the courage to claim it. Most men shrink before adversity, cursing their fate and abandoning their dreams at the first sign of resistance. They mistake temporary defeat for permanent failure, not realizing that adversity often stands as the final gatekeeper before breakthrough. The man who persists, who stands unmoved by the tempest of misfortune, proves himself worthy of the rewards that lie beyond the storm. It is not the absence of hardship that defines greatness, it is the response to hardship. The man who rises when he has every reason to stay down, who believes when he has every reason to doubt, who pushes forward when retreat would be easier, becomes the kind of man whom life cannot defeat. He transforms obstacles into stepping stones, losses into lessons, setbacks into setups for greater advancement. There is no growth without resistance. There is no strength without struggle. The soil must be broken before the seed can grow. The diamond must endure pressure before it shines. So it is with the human spirit. Without adversity, the grandest virtues, courage, patience, resilience, remain theoretical and unproven. It is through suffering, persistence, and unwavering faith that these virtues are called forth, refined, and made powerful. The man who embraces adversity, who welcomes it as a necessary ally in his journey, will find that it becomes a source of unexpected blessings. Adversity clarifies priorities. It exposes weakness and invites correction. It separates the genuine from the counterfeit, the committed from the casual. It strengthens the will, expands the imagination, deepens the soul. Every successful man, if pressed to reveal his true story, will speak not of easy days and smooth roads, but of nights filled with doubt, battles fought in secret, mountains climbed in solitude. These moments of testing were not setbacks, they were stepping stones. Each adversity overcome added another layer of strength, another notch in the armor of character, another reason why the final victory would be not only possible but inevitable. Faith and adversity are two sides of the same coin. Faith fuels the journey, adversity tests its worth. Together, they shape a man into more than he ever dreamed he could be. They transform potential into reality, dreams into monuments, intentions into legacy. The man who wields both with wisdom and courage is the man who claims the destiny designed for him since the beginning of time. A man who does not master his emotions will be mastered by them. Emotion is the spark of human energy, capable of lighting the fires of achievement or burning the bridges to success. Controlled emotion becomes an ally, fueling ambition, strengthening resolve, and igniting action. Uncontrolled, it becomes a tyrant, pulling the mind into chaos, turning minor setbacks into defeats, and transforming temporary failures into lasting ruin. Every man must learn early that the world does not respond to the storms that rage within his heart. It responds to calm, calculated, decisive action. The man who gives way to anger will make enemies where none were necessary. The man who surrenders to fear will retreat when victory lies within his grasp. The man who allows envy to take root will poison his own mind and diminish his own power. Emotion is necessary, but only as a servant, never as a master. The power of emotional control lies not in repression, but in redirection. When anger rises, it must be harnessed into productive force, not destructive rage. When fear whispers of danger, it must be transmuted into cautious preparation, not paralyzing inaction. When sorrow darkens the heart, it must be converted into deeper understanding, not despair. Great men are not immune to emotion, they are masters of it. They feel the fire but channel it toward constructive ends. Self-mastery requires vigilance. One must watch the mind constantly, catching the first stirrings of destructive emotion before they swell into storms. It requires discipline to pause, to think, and to choose the higher response when the lower one clamors for release. The stronger the emotion, the greater the opportunity for mastery. Every situation that provokes anger, fear, jealousy, or sadness is not a threat but an invitation to grow stronger, wiser, more powerful. Control over the emotions grants a man control over his destiny. It grants him the ability to persist when others quit, to smile when others despair, to act with courage when others tremble. Emotional mastery is the silent strength that makes a man immovable in the face of adversity, gracious in the presence of insult, magnanimous in the hour of triumph. It is one of the highest forms of power, and without it no other success can be securely held. Yet even the man who masters his own mind must be vigilant about another critical factor: the company he keeps. The influences a man allows into his life will shape his destiny as surely as the thoughts he harbors in his mind. No man rises alone. He either climbs with those who lift him higher or sinks with those who pull him down. The power of association is invisible but immense. Minds, when brought into contact, act upon one another with greater force than fire upon dry wood. Association with the courageous will inspire courage. Association with the industrious will stir ambition. Association with the wise will cultivate wisdom. But association with the weak, the idle, the bitter, or the corrupt will poison the mind, sap the will, and blur the vision. See, a man must choose his companions as carefully as he chooses his values, for in time they become the same. He must surround himself with those who believe in growth, who speak of possibilities, who act with integrity, who refuse to be satisfied with mediocrity. He must seek mentors who embody the virtues he desires and companions who challenge him to become better, stronger, nobler. No man who surrounds himself with small minds will accomplish great deeds. No man who listens to the counsel of the fearful will wage the battles necessary for greatness. No man who keeps company with the petty, the envious, and the indolent will ever escape their fate. A man becomes over time the average of the expectations, habits, and beliefs of those with whom he spends the most time. Association is a tool. Used wisely, it multiplies power, opens doors, sharpens character, and accelerates success. Used foolishly, it brings corruption, confusion, stagnation, and eventual failure. To walk with giants, one must first have the courage to leave the crowd. To become exceptional, one must sometimes be willing to be alone until he finds those who share the fire that burns within his soul. Choosing the right associations often requires sacrifice. It may mean outgrowing friendships born of comfort but not aligned with destiny. It may mean enduring periods of loneliness while seeking those whose vision matches one's own, but the rewards are incalculable. The right companions will not only walk with a man toward his dreams, but will help carry him when the burdens grow heavy. Thus, a man must govern two great territories if he is to fulfill his highest purpose: the inner kingdom of emotion and the outer empire of association. In mastering both, he gains a power few ever realize. He becomes a force not easily swayed by circumstance, not easily broken by adversity, not easily distracted from his mission. The mastery of emotion makes him steady. The mastery of association makes him strong. Together, they create the kind of man who leaves a mark upon the world that time cannot erase. No man rises to greatness by serving only himself. True power, lasting success, and meaningful fulfillment are reserved for those who recognize that the highest use of one's gifts is to improve the lives of others. Service is not a burden to be avoided, but a golden key to be embraced. Every great fortune, every monumental achievement, every noble legacy is built upon the foundation of providing value beyond oneself. The world rewards those who solve its problems. It lifts up those who lighten its burdens, heal its wounds, and meet its needs. The man who wakes each day asking, "How can I serve more effectively?" moves in harmony with the invisible laws that govern success. He becomes indispensable. He attracts opportunities and allies. He rises not by demanding more from life, but by giving more to it. Service transforms ambition from selfishness into significance. It refines motives and purifies intentions. When a man ceases to view others as obstacles or competitors and begins to see them as the very field upon which his greatness will be built, he steps into a new realm of influence. The farmer does not curse the soil for demanding labor. He blesses it, for it yields the harvest that sustains him. So it is with service. The more generously and skillfully one sows, the more abundantly one reaps. Service requires a mindset of abundance. It rejects the smallness of hoarding and the pettiness of envy. It demands that a man trust the law that what he gives will return multiplied. And it demands faithfulness even when the immediate reward seems small or delayed. The seeds planted today will bear fruit tomorrow, provided they are sown with care, persistence, and love. No service rendered with excellence is ever wasted. It sharpens skill, builds reputation, enlarges influence, and strengthens character. It opens unseen doors and awakens unseen forces. Even when unseen by human eyes, the acts of true service are registered in the unseen accounts that govern success. Every word spoken in encouragement, every effort made in good faith, every burden lightened for another builds invisible but real capital, ready to return 1,000-fold when the time is right. The spirit of service is not confined to great deeds alone. It is woven into the manner of daily living, the extra care taken in one's work, the patience shown in a moment of irritation, the honesty maintained when deception would be easier. It is a way of life, a chosen attitude, a deliberate commitment to leave every situation, every person, every endeavor better than one found it. Yet service alone, noble as it is not enough. A man must continually increase his capacity to serve if he is to fulfill his highest destiny. The world is in motion, and he who remains static is in reality falling behind. Continuous learning is the law of growth. It is the process by which potential becomes power, ignorance becomes wisdom, and limitation becomes mastery. Knowledge once attained must be ever expanded. Skills once gained must be ever sharpened. No man can rest upon yesterday's victories, for the world is a living, breathing, changing force. What worked yesterday may fail tomorrow. Only the man who commits himself to lifelong learning remains fit for leadership and capable of sustained success. Learning must not be seen as a duty but as a privilege. Each new piece of knowledge, each new skill acquired is another tool placed in the hand of a master builder. The mind, once stretched by new understanding, can never return to its former dimensions. It sees farther, thinks deeper, acts more wisely. The desire to learn springs from humility. It recognizes that no matter how much a man has achieved, there is always more to know, more to understand, more to master. It recognizes that true wisdom begins with the admission of how little one truly knows. The ignorant man, proud in his shallow victories, soon finds himself overtaken. The wise man, humble in his continual pursuit of excellence, rises steadily, surely, inevitably. Continuous learning demands more than the passive reception of information. It demands questioning, application. In experimentation, it demands that a man not only listen but think, not only memorize but innovate. Books, mentors, experiences, even failures, all are teachers for the man whose mind remains open and hungry. There is no final arrival point for the man who chooses the path of learning. There are only new plateaus to be reached, new mountains to be climbed, new vistas to be explored. Every mastery achieved reveals new depths yet to be conquered. This is not cause for despair but for exhilaration, for it means that life never runs dry, that growth never ceases, that excellence has no ceiling. The man who serves with all his heart and learns with all his mind becomes an unstoppable force. He rises beyond competition because he plays a different game altogether. He becomes a source of light in a world of shadows, a builder of bridges where others see only walls, a leader whose influence endures long after the noise of mere ambition has faded. Thus, to become the man he was meant to be, one must unite the spirit of service with the fire of continuous learning. In doing so, he steps into his true inheritance. Not merely success as the world defines it, but the deep, abiding satisfaction of a life lived in alignment with the highest laws of life itself.